Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Anything to distract from the files, right? That's the clue that the files aren't the distraction. Everything else that Trump is doing is trying to get people's minds off of the files. The files are not the distraction. We've got the alien invasion announcement, right? And that didn't work out. They're claiming to be working on disclosing alien invasion. What are the odds that they pull that card at this point in history, right? Now, of course, the right and left work together. So Obama pretended to be ready to disclose it so that Trump would have some cover. This is how they work together. Otherwise, had Trump just said, hey, I'm going to announce aliens. Well, of course, people would be like, you're just trying to distract from the files. But instead they go, well, Obama was going to do it first. Do you see how this works now? It's so obvious to people like us that are awake, but it's not so obvious to other people. They think we would be crazy. Why would Obama, who claims to be against Trump, give him a reason to distract from the files? Why would Obama help Trump by doing that? Why did Obama feel it was necessary to start talking about aliens right now? There's the dead giveaway. What Obama should be doing would be to expose the people in the Epstein files, right? That's low-hanging fruit for the left right now. But now you can see things clearly. These people are freaking out. Now, at the end of the show, if you want to stay tuned, I do have the Epstein files pulled up and we can do some random searches. But remember, the more obscure the search term, the more we're going to be able to flush it out here on the channel. But if it's just a general term, like if you ask me to search Trump, there's going to be millions and millions of files to go through. It's not going to be any good, right? I'll give you an example. I searched the words ping pong, and believe it or not, it only gave me 42 entries. Now, I didn't find anything in there that seemed, too damning or too damaging, but that's the kind of search we're looking for, because that's where we find the pearls, right? Now, let's go ahead and get into what is going on here with the show today. Trump has now just approved 2 widely known poisons for use on our food. The 2 poisons are dicamba and glyphosate. So that's what we're going to get into today. Trump is literally self-destructing America. He's like an angry, I'm shocked he hasn't dropped a nuke somewhere at this point. He's like an angry child, whatever he can do. Now, let's follow the stream of thought here with what Trump's been up to distract from everything and pretty much self-destruct America. For the middle and lower class anyway. The rich, they're having a heyday. So it started with the tariffs, right? And here we are, a year after they were enacted, and Americans have yet to see any kind of check or relief. We're told, oh, it's about the future. It's the future. So we're supposed to have faith that they're going to do the right thing with all this money that they've collected. And so far, the tariffs are being applied to Trump's big, beautiful bill budget, which is an inflated budget. So those tariffs are helping to offset that. And we are told that some of the tariffs are being used to also offset our debt as well. While we all pay inflated prices for food, goods, and services. Essentially, Trump raised taxes in plain sight. Have you ever tried to go buy a cup of coffee recently? Or coffee, bulk coffee in the grocery store? Have you tried to buy some fruits and vegetables? Have you tried to buy beef? There are certain sectors of our economy now that have inflated prices, and people are adjusting to this by changing what they buy. But the prices for the things we need, or what most people feel like they need, like coffee, what can you do about that? There's no way around that. The corporations are getting richer, and we are left with no consistent messaging on the tariffs. No leadership, no plan. Because here's what Trump should have done, okay? If he was going to sell these tariffs as a necessary balance to trade and to get rid of the deficit, if he was honest with us that our costs would go up, and he enacted the tariffs with a preset plan concurrent with the tariffs, not a prayer and a promise for the future, but a plan that was concurrent with the very first tariff, that Americans would get part of the proceeds from the tariffs to offset the increased consumer costs. And had he coupled that with passing a reasonable budget that didn't increase the debt further, a lot of people might have gotten on board with the tariffs, wouldn't they have? But instead, we have chaos. It's whatever mood Trump's in, and that's what we have to deal with. And there's no end in sight. And then he just dangles this carrot of, maybe I'll give you guys a refund and maybe I won't. It's a constant carrot being dangled based on how we behave, right? Oh, you keep pressing for the Epstein files? Oh, we'll just do more tariffs. Essentially, he's blackmailing and extorting the American people. And this is why so many people get behind Trump, because they've put full trust in him. Because they're like, well, what alternative do we have? We're all paying more for food, goods, and services. The rich are getting richer. They have complete and full power. Let's just let him run the economy and hope everything gets better. And hope that this golden age that he's talked about is going to happen. Believe it or not, that's how many people think. Or they're just glad Obama's not running the country. Or they're just glad something's being done about illegals. Or they're just glad that we don't have a green energy bottomless pit. Now understand, we have a different kind of bottomless pit. I'm actually glad the green energy has gone away, but now it's morphed into something completely different. Instead of green energy, it's the tech revolution. Stargate AI, billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars, going into this new infrastructure that's going to enslave all of us. And I'm starting to wonder, if I had to pick one or the other, which one would be better. Yeah, green energy's lame. But I mean, now look what we have. This is a complete and total takeover by tech oligarchs. Now, what other distractions did we have? Well, Trump kidnapped Maduro, stole his oil, and now they're saying they're going to sell it to China. He's threatened several other sovereign nations. And now he's poisoning America with the relaunching of two toxic chemicals that had been long established as poisonous for human consumption in any way, shape, or form. We're not just talking, the green energy program. We're not just talking green concepts and, frivolous stuff that we have no control over. We're not talking about carbon credits. We're talking about a substance that you pour on the ground that actually kills stuff and hurts people. Okay, it's not a conspiracy theory. Now, again, I want to be clear here. I'm not an environmentalist. And I'm glad that the budget-breaking green agenda is over. Or so they tell us. But now we have an entirely new budget-busting agenda, enriching these corporations on the backs of the American taxpayer with these tariffs and do what thou wilt technocracy. Let's read about some of these herbicides that Trump has now approved in the last 48 hours. The first one is called dicamba. Now let's read about dicamba first, and then I'll tell you what Trump did about it. Now, we mentioned this in a previous show, but today we're going to double down because the theme today is Make America Poison Again, which is what Trump's doing. Dicamba is a highly volatile systemic herbicide used to control broadleaf weeds, but it frequently causes widespread damage to non-target plants, trees, and crops via drift and vapor movement. While classified as having relatively low acute toxicity to humans and animals, it is suspected carcinogen linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and can cause serious eye irritation. So the damage here is drift and what this does to places it's not intended to go to. It poses risks to wildflowers and native plants that are essential for pollinators like bees. So they're destroying the bees. Now, what is up with this dicamba? Well, let's take a look. Farmers challenge EPA's new regulations for controversial herbicide. Dicamba has been used as an herbicide for decades, but farmers say overspraying is damaging neighboring crops. So these farmers are suing and challenging an order from Trump Environmental Protection Agency, which is exactly the opposite of what they do, granting unconditional new use registration for the controversial herbicide dicamba. The plaintiffs, the National Family Farm Coalition, Center for Food Safety, Center for Biological Diversity and Pesticide Action, and Agroecology Network, accuse the EPA and Administrator Lee Zeldin of authorizing over-the-top spraying of dicamba on genetically engineered cotton and soybeans. The groups filed the lawsuit directly with the Ninth Circuit. EPA's re-registration of dicamba flies in the face of a decade of damning evidence, real-world farming know-how, and sound science. And oh, by the way, the law, said George Kimbrell, legal director of the Center for Food and Safety and Counsel, in the case. In reality, the Trump administration has once again betrayed farmers and poisoned the environment to pad corporate pesticide profits. So dicamba has been around since the 1960s, but over-the-top application began in 2016. That was the first year Trump got elected. It was used to control weeds in several food and feed crops, with some products approved for spraying over the top of genetically engineered soybeans and cotton after they sprout. The groups said the EPA's reapproval of dicamba is more permissive than past approvals, despite Zeldin's promise that new restrictions would limit pesticide drift. So the drift is the problem in the over-the-top spraying. It's destroying things it's not intended to destroy in neighboring fields. It says the approval allows spraying in July and August and eliminate a 100-foot buffer meant to protect endangered species and their habitat. Lee Zeldin's hollow promises that new restrictions on dicamba will prevent damaging drift to nearby farms and backyard gardens is totally unsupported by the facts or common sense. The groups said Zeldin recklessly reapproved the pesticide while claiming he is working closely with the Make America Healthy Again movement to make the pesticides safer. No one in the healthy foods movement has been fooled by Zeldin's pro-industry spin game. So the farmers are suing for what they call drift of the harmful herbicide onto other crops, killing wildflowers, which kills the bees, damaging millions of acres of farmland. And to me, all this sounds like a war on the homeland, doesn't it? Now, why wouldn't Trump just listen to the farmers who know how deadly this stuff is? Well, it's obvious. It's because he doesn't care. Instead, we get the spin machine, something right out of the Q MAGA playbook. Oh, it's Trump's reformulated the chemicals and the 5G and the chemtrails to make him harmless. And then people believe this nonsense. You guys remember that? Remember when Trump first got elected in 2016 and the chemtrails didn't stop? Because all the MAGA people voted for Trump to end the chemtrails and to end 5G. And remember, 5G just moved right on ahead, and then we got the pandemic, and then Trump signed 5G, 6G, and beyond. And remember what they tried to say? Oh, Trump redid the technology. 5G's safe now. And the chemtrails have been reformulated. You can't make this stuff up. Now, let's get into the most important change to make America sick again and make America poison again. Trump has now reapproved Roundup. They've already paid out millions and millions of dollars to people that have been harmed by Roundup. Why are we bringing Roundup back? Unbelievable. Let's read. President Trump this week issued an executive order that seeks to boost the controversial herbicide glyphosate, drawing the ire from the Make America Healthy Again movement. Glyphosate, a key ingredient, commonly used, widely litigated weed killer Roundup, is described as a cornerstone of the nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy in Trump's order, issued Wednesday. Ensuring an adequate supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides is thus crucial to the national security and defense, including food supply security, which is essential to protecting the health and safety of Americans, Trump wrote in the order. So, Roundup is a case of national security and defense. Yeah, because they want to kill all of us off so they don't have to be held accountable for the Epstein files. So yeah, that's national security. Just kill everybody. This is unbelievable. He directed the Agriculture Secretary to ensure the country has an adequate supply of glyphosate-based herbicides, and also said the producers of such chemicals should have immunity under the Defense Production Act. So what that means is you can no longer sue somebody if you suspect that Roundup has caused you or your children damage. Thanks, Trump. The move has met with backlash from the Republican-aligned MAHA movement, which is widely against the use of pesticides, is also skeptical of vaccines. The movement is linked to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This move betrays the very MAHA voters who put this administration in power. Oh, that's par for the course these days with Trump, betraying his base. Now, we all knew he would betray his base because this is what presidents do. It doesn't matter. Obama betrayed his base. Biden betrayed his base. Trump betrayed his base on many fronts. It's like we get a different person than the person you voted for every time. Let's keep reading. It stands in direct opposition to the president's original promise to address the contribution of pesticides to chronic disease. Yep, he's just straight up lied to us. MAHA wasn't alone in its criticism. This is a sickening love letter from Trump to the largest pesticide companies in the world, says this woman. Environmental Health Program Director of the Center for Biological Diversity in a written statement. It's more proof that Trump doesn't care at all about Americans' health. Well, he doesn't care about us, period. Trump only cares about making money off of Americans and his rich billionaire friends. That's why he protects them in the Epstein files. He's pandering to chemical companies and the rest of the country, especially those who've been poisoned by pesticides. It's rightfully asking, what about us? So, Trump just went full retard. Can you say that word still? Now, what's this really about? Well, it's about profits and efficiency. The Roundup, of course, is connected to the GMO, is connected to the productivity, is connected to higher yields. But as we all know, more isn't always better, is it? Do you ever think about what role weeds actually play in the ecosystem of growing crops? They actually serve a purpose. For those of you that garden, you know this to be true. Weeds actually make plants stronger. And yeah, you're going to lose some of your crop because of the weeds, but your crop will be stronger. It's survival of the fittest. The fittest strains survive. The nutrient profile is different. And weeds can actually strengthen, nourish, and protect desirable plants by improving soil structure, adding essential nutrients through decomposition, and acting as dynamic nutrient accumulators. The deep-rooted weeds such as dandelions even help break up compacted soil, which would, of course, provide more room for the plants that you're intending to grow to have their roots go deeper into the soil where there are more nutrients. Wow. Now here's the irony of all this. The wheat and the tares. Yes, the tares who are in power and control of our reality are trying to kill the weeds. That's the irony. But they've already killed the wheat. What do I mean? They've already changed the wheat into tares. The GMO, genetically modified, is a copy, a clone on a spiritual level. They've already turned everything into weeds. Unbelievable. So, science isn't always the best, is it? It doesn't always result in what's best for anything, because science has been now taken over by profits. The rich are the ones that can pay for the scientific studies that benefit their causes. Wow. Now, there's been some breaking news. Another distraction, if you hadn't heard, armed man shot and killed after entering secure perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. This just happened within the last few hours. U.S. Secret Service announced Sunday that an armed man was shot and killed after entering the secure perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. Although Trump often spends weekends at the resort, he was at the White House during this incident. Of course he was at the White House, because when you stage something, you don't want to be there when it happens, right? First Lady Melania Trump was also with the president. Yeah, of course. There was nobody there when all this went down. The name of the person hasn't been released. Of course they haven't been released. Unbelievable. And people believe this nonsense. They'll believe it. Oh, they're just trying to kill Trump because they couldn't get him with the Epstein files, and so now they're trying to kill him. This is the rhetoric. Wow. Now, I hope today's show helped you understand that it's clear as the sun in the sky that the true distractions are what Trump's trying to do to distract us away from the Epstein files. The Epstein files are not the distraction. Now, the powers that be have given us the illusion that they are going to bring people to justice about the files. But as the further along this thing continues to drag out, even the people that are pushing for, transparency and all this, they're still holding back. They're still refusing to name the names that only they can see behind the redactions. Congress is still not naming names. So far, only Massey and that other guy have named a few names. But what about Nancy Mace? She's saying she could see all these billionaires and millionaires, but she won't tell us who they are. And according to the law, we have the right to see that. So why won't she? She's protected by the new law, isn't she? But why won't she give us the names? And then we continue to get this common theme of, oh, there's nothing in there that implicates Trump. But they miss the elephant in the room, which is that his name is behind a lot of these redactions. No one wants to talk about that for some reason. So this is a cover up all the way from top to bottom. And so it is very frustrating. Now, here is an article. This goes back in time. This is a really good article on the modeling networks between Casablancas, Epstein, and Trump. I wanted to read part of this for you today so you'll never, ever, ever forget. This is history. Trump was literally surrounded by PDF files. It's not, he just didn't, these people weren't just friends. He was in business with them. For him to say he didn't know what was going on is a outright lie. Let's read some of this, and then I'll do a search on some of your ideas in the Epstein files. John Casablancas is credited with having created the supermodel. He was reported to have urged female models to use drugs and enjoy the nightlife, personally interviewed most of the models in his elite modeling agency, which became the world's top modeling agency. Casablancas co-owned Elite with two other men, Alan Kittler and Gerald Marie. Now, this Alan Kittler guy is in the files, in the Epstein files, because I looked it up. And he was essentially, he had rejected a woman in an email from Trump's modeling agency, for Trump's modeling agency. And we might look that up. Let's copy his name here. Alan Kittler. Control-C. Okay, let's keep reading here. Elite recruited not only young women, but also girls from the mid-teens onward. One of the perks the owners chose for themselves was the right to sleep with any willing models, regardless of their age. "We are men. We have needs," said Gerald Marie. I wonder if he's in the files. Look him up. Gerald Marie. Oh, wow. All kinds of stuff in here. Whoa. Let's look at this one. John Luke, Epstein, and Gerald Marie. Regarding Gerald. So these people were known PDF files quoted as saying such, but yet Trump was working with them and friends with them. So which is it? They were public about how they felt. "We are men, we have needs." Now let's keep reading here because there's more. Because right now, this doesn't look like underage yet, but here, I'll show that to you. All three owned summer homes on the island of Ibiza. The three were meeting with two top female executives of Elite, Lisa Herzog and Trudy Tapscott. Women pleaded with the three to stop sleeping with underage girls. Gerald Marie said, "We are men, we have our needs." John Casablancas dismissed the women. "Come on, Trudy, Lisa, relax," Marie added. "Go screw yourselves, run your own life." Another company employee present, Marie Anderson Boyd, witnessed that exchange and soon left Elite. Casablancas ran the New York division of Casablancas, often hanging out there with his good friend Donald Trump. He provided models for a 1996 dinner party where Trump was present. Casablancas encouraged the models to walk on the tables as if they were a catwalk. According to the Daily Mail article, Trump would comment on whether the models were wearing anything and what he thought of their genitals. In the late 1980s, Trump was a judge at Elite's modeling competition that allegedly launched the careers of Cindy Crawford, Helena Christensen, and Stephanie Seymour. At one event, 58 models from across the world partied on the Spirit of New York yacht. Models as young as 14 danced under a disco ball on the dance floor, men old enough to be their fathers pressing against their flesh. In 1990, Casablanca sent a teenage model for her first casting call at the residential address on New York's Upper East Side to meet a photographer. Now, I can't read the rest of this because it's behind a paywall. But needless to say, there is some history here, isn't there? Now let's look up this Allen guy. And then I will take your requests. All right, here's Alan Kittler. And they've got Gerald Marie in the email as well. This just corroborates the news story that we just read. Here's the email stream. Okay, let me go back into the chat and see what you guys would like me to search with the rest of the show today. Okay, I'm in the chat. George Clooney. Okay, here we go. Good one. George Clooney. Now, George Clooney shouldn't really show up very much in here, should he? But we have 64, looks like. Ooh, here's an unknown one. You asked to remind you about George Clooney. Confirmed 12:30 tomorrow. Blank and Clooney. So the name's redacted here. Okay, let's go back and see what other ones we have here. Can I have a muse? Same as George Clooney. Let's go back to the beginning of this. If you present position, it should be George Clooney. To a redacted name. Can I have a muse? Same as George Clooney. In fact, what about George Clooney? Call after the chat. Now, if you're confused about this format, someone took all the files and dropped them into this JMail format for easier searching. You can search by dates and things like this. So that's why this looks like we're in Jeffrey Epstein's email, but we're really not. It's just the format, the portal to get to the Epstein files. Oh, here we got a picture. It says George Clooney. There's a JPEG image. We can't see it, of course. And they have this link here where you can go to the original document on the DOJ website to double check. So that's helpful as well. But well, here's more redactions. Well, look at all this. Clooney, George Clooney from Baku. I don't know what that means, but everyone's redacted. So they're hiding a lot of stuff, aren't they? Let's click on a couple more of these, and then I'll get to the next request. Okay, that's the same one. Let's see. What is Baku? That might have been a picture of George Clooney. Marissa Tomei. The Ides of March. George Clooney's Ides of March has just debuted at the Venice and Toronto film festivals. This Peggy lady is like his publicist or something. She goes into all these parties and then reports back to Epstein about who she saw. You get a feel for the files once you've immersed yourself in them to see who the players were and what people did and what their roles were. This Leslie Groff lady was his assistant, so she handled a lot of his stuff after Ghislaine Maxwell and him parted ways. Peter Mandelson. Okay, that's the guy that just got deposed. So if you keep looking, you can actually see where they had forgotten to redact some of this stuff. And so in this instance, they forgot to redact Peter Mandelson because there's a lot of repeat copies of this stuff. So Mandelson is asking, he's the one asking if he can have a muse the same as George Clooney, and it says Clooney, but it's supposed to be Clooney. George Clooney. So that was a good search. And let's see if there's any others. Wait, is that have an attachment? Click to cast your vote for an unredaction. We will pass it along to Congress. Oh, that's cool. Let's see here. If you present position, it should be George Clooney. Okay, that's just a reply. Oh, and then it shows how many people voted for the unredaction. So in this case, 4 people voted to have George Clooney image unredacted because they're not supposed to be protected, right? Why would George Clooney be redacted in this image here? You see? Now I'm trying to get you to understand there's plenty of stuff in the files, but the people that aren't actually looking at the files are the ones saying it's a distraction because they haven't even looked. There's all kinds of stuff in here that should be unredacted, and we can fight for that. Now, will it ever happen? Probably not. But we can't just lay down. Right? Okay, let's go to the next request. I think we spent enough time on it. Now, I'll put a link to this jmail.world interface so you can do your own searches on this stuff. And when you do your own search, put it in the comments section, what you found, okay? And put a link, and I can go in and approve the links on the back end so that I can do a show on it. This is called crowd searching, right? Okay, what else, you guys? Here. Submarine Will Ferrell. Okay, now I'm just grabbing the ones that I just see right off the top of my head. I'm not trying to play favorites or anything. Submarine. Now, they don't call them submarines. I think we did this one on a show before. They don't call it a submarine. They would call it by the name of the submarine, or they probably have like a nickname like submersible or something. We'll try submersible, but I already did this search, and most of the results were about a submarine cable. So that came up and kind of dominated the search results. But apparently there's 94 instances where a submarine is mentioned, either a cable or a submersible. Submersible. And then I'll look up Will Ferrell. See, like when you search submersible, it gives you like water pumps, which are also submersible, right? So here's the problem There's only 9 results here. Let's see here. So these are all water pumps. Okay. Now, Will Ferrell. Okay. Yeah, he's a creep. And we got 26 results. Okay. And let's see. Saturday Night Live highlights. Here's the publicist lady, Peggy Siegel, talking about invites to some kind of thing. Let's click on this one. Okay. Hi, Redacted. Today is tight, but I can rearrange my meetings to make it happen. Any chance Jeffrey can see me tomorrow morning? Where's Will Ferrell in this thing? What? Okay. Okay. Attend a screening tonight of a new movie, The Campaign, and it's Will Ferrell. So see, like, that to me doesn't constitute Will Ferrell being in the Epstein files, okay? Unless it says that he went to dinner with Epstein or something. Let's look at some more of these other ones here. So when people tell you so-and-so is in the Epstein files, well, you have to double down and ask, well, how and why? Are they just mentioned? Because there's a lot of people mentioned in the files. But see, this is the cover that Trump's hiding behind. They're intentionally being ambiguous about that. And they're letting people say that without understanding the context, right? It's not that people are mentioned in the Epstein files. It's their associations with Epstein on a personal level. And some people to a degree that is just creepy, like begging and pining for his attention. And Epstein funding certain people in the files and having dinner with them on multiple occasions and going to the island after he was a convicted PDF file. That's the real story. It's not just that people are mentioned in the files because obviously that does not suggest that they did anything wrong unless you see the other part of it. So a lot of these are just invites. Now, what you can do is you can type in well, even if you type in dinner, it's just going to show you. See where it says all invite there. So there's nothing there. So there's only 26 total. Let's see. Let's go to this one. This one looks like it could be something. Karina Shuliak. Okay, so that's just a link. Okay, let's go to the next one. We'll do like 5 more. How does that sound? Well, yeah, we already did jerky. Stem cells. Erica Francevy. I already looked up Erica Francevy. Nothing in there. I'll do it again for you guys though. Francevy. Let's see here. Let's just type in Francevy. Because that's not a name. See, no results for that. That's not a typical name. So that should show up. But again, remember, a lot of this stuff's been scrubbed or redacted. So there could literally be a Francie in there, but it's under a redaction, which would not show up in the search. Jerry Seinfeld. It's a good one. Now, a lot of these comedians were very popular in the files. So newsletter, politically correct comedy. Okay, let's see what this one's about. Jerry and Jessica Seinfeld are going to be sailing around St. Thomas, 26th to 27th. Can I organize for them to come to the island for lemonade? From Ghislaine Maxwell. What the heck? Bombshell. This is 2006. Now, this was before he was convicted, but everybody knew what was going on. So, yeah, let's just call up Jerry Seinfeld and invite him onto the island there at St. Thomas. Let's see if they actually did show up, because that's just an invite, right? Let's see if we find something else. Now, what I found too, like if you're interested, the further back in time you go, the juicier stuff you find, because it's more relevant. So like 2009, 2010, those were years where you're going to find some stuff. Okay. Reset the password. Let's look through some of these. There's only 21 of these. Ooh, Seinfeld coming. 2009. Let's see here. Wait. Let's see here. This is crazy. Coming. Okay. Okay, this is just a public event. See, I don't even consider a public event implication, you know. Private dinner, that's different. Private dinner, a small group of people, yeah, they're kind of implicated. But if it's a public event, we can't really say for sure. So far, Seinfeld's pretty clean unless he did show up to the island. Let's keep looking. There's only 21 of these, so we can look through all of them. Now, the cool thing about this site as well is once you look at an email, it shows that you looked at it, so you're not, looking at something 3 and 4 times over and over again. Okay, let's see here. I don't see anything in here, you guys. I don't see that Seinfeld ever went. Now, again, his name could be redacted, and so therefore you would never know if he actually did show up. Let's look at this last one here. Let's look at this one. Wow, unbelievable. Okay, let's go back in here. Those are some good ones. Thanks for that. Okay. Any more you guys want me to look at before we pop off here? Congress funded Maxwell for about $1 billion for a Terramar program. Every penny needs investigated. 100%. Ellen DeGeneres, good one. Pop Tart, good one. Let's look that one up first because that's kind of random. Pop Tart. There are two. Okay, 7-year-old migrant. What? Oh, that's just that is a Washington Post. Leslie Groff. Okay. Dr. Fish called to let you know. This is from his assistant to Epstein. He went to the Greenberg's bakery and had the best Pop-Tart ever. They were handing out samples and he tried the cherry one. Said he could not believe how incredibly good it was. Now, it's important to note, look, I understand these people use code words, but we can't go crazy and think that every single thing is a code word. This doesn't look like coded language to me. This looks like they actually went and got a Pop-Tart. Now, I could be wrong, but we don't have any context for this, and it's the only result about Pop-Tarts in all of the files. So, Ellen DeGeneres. How do you even spell her name? Oh, there it is. DeGeneres. Okay, 16 results. Well, let's take a look. Okay. She's just quoting Ellen DeGeneres there. Okay, XM Radio, Black interview with Gray, Apple News. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything in here about Ellen DeGeneres. We'll do a couple more. Vince McMahon. Yeah, that's a good one. Vince McMahon. Nothing. Let's try Vince McMahon. Nothing. Again, may have been scrubbed. Trump is going to protect his people, so they probably said, hey, here's a list of 25 people that I need you guys to scrub or redact out of the files. And believe me, there are probably a bunch of people that came to Trump and to the Department of Justice and said, dude, you need to scrub me from the files before you release those. And Trump said, okay, yeah, you donated millions and millions of dollars to my campaign. Okay, we'll have Bondi scrub you from the files too. So you have to believe that was going on as well. People approaching Trump's administration saying, you better scrub those files before you release them. So Gene Hackman, good one. Gene Hackman. Ooh, we got a couple here. Gene Hackman, they're 3. Okay, let's see here. What's this? French Connection, Gene Hackman. Bullet Steve McQueen, Jason Bourne, Tommy Lee Jones. An email to Misha Gromov from Epstein. There's no context for this, so I don't know even what that means. Here we go. Misha Gromov. She just says thanks, so I don't know what that is. That was in 2017. That's all we have on Gene Hackman. Okay, good one. All right, The Rock. Oh, we'd probably have to type in Dwayne Johnson. Will Smith. I looked up Will Smith already. Didn't see anything. Dwayne Johnson. Johnson. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Nothing. All right. Now, when I say nothing, it's because these are obviously, there's a lot of this stuff in the emails. Morning Squawk, Washington Post. So those aren't personal emails. What we're looking for are personal emails and invitations and stuff like that. That's where you find all this stuff. Simon Cowell. Good one. Simon Cowell. Oh, what do we have here? We have 7 results. Okay. Will Ford quotes. Jet Setter. Ticketmaster. Okay, nothing there. Let's look at this one, though. This might be something. Oh, all kinds of redactions here from Richard Kahn. What? And it's talking about celebrity tabloids. Simon Cowell something, and it's a JPEG image. Don't know what all that is. Simon Cowell's motorhome. So that's the subject of that. I don't really see anything in there about Simon Cowell. I think I already looked up Joel Osteen, Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie. Those are good ones. Brad Pitt. 67 emails. Brad Pitt spending time with Rockstar. MIT, New Ladies Award winning. Maybe said Brad Pitt or Richard. So these are just general conversations. What's happening with... Ooh. Thank you. Premiere. There's a premiere. Ooh, what's this one? Oh, okay. Okay, so there's talking about them in general. World War Z invite. So Epstein was going to a lot of movie premieres. He was getting invited to this stuff. Like any new movie that came out, he was getting invitations to. Oh, Steve Hansen. I don't see anything in here, you guys. Wait, cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. Yeah, see, this is just a general party. Okay, let's go down here to the bottom. Ooh, here's the Boris guy. Loose Lips Boris. See, he's usually spilling some beans. Pitt. He's just talking about him in general. Okay. Ooh. What? Yeah. Okay. Let's go back here. Ravi Zacharias. See. Nothing. Okay. Twin Towers. Yes, we already did a study on that. I did the whole thing surrounding 9/11, so we did a full show on that of what I found. Michael Jackson, yeah, that's already been searched. Al Pacino, he's a creep. Him and the other guy. Okay, here's Al Pacino. Looks like 69 results. Reminder, Al Pacino. Okay, so here's his assistant. To Epstein says, reminder, Al Pacino. So we have no context there. Okay. Form. Remind me regarding Al Pacino on the 24th of November. Will do. And if you need to reach me in the office, dial blank. Direct line. Okay. This Jarecki guy was a film producer, and he was like buddies with Epstein. Like they were close. He told Epstein, when the bracelets come off, let's get together. Those were his handcuffs. So he was like, wow, Jarecki. So anytime you see Jarecki in the opening credits of a film, he was an Epstein buddy, and he talked about a lot of stuff he was working on in film and would report that back to Epstein. So yeah, this is just a private screening of a film. Okay. Screenings, film screenings. Whoa. That's a movie. Arbitrage is a movie. Oh, okay. That's just this Peggy Siegel girl who went to go see Al Pacino and at a party. Yeah. Okay. All right. One more, you guys. One more. Look up Liar Cohen. He's in the music industry, rap music. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. Yeah, Robert De Niro is a freaking creep. When he was in that movie, what was it? Oh man, he basically molested a girl on camera. Essentially, I think at the time she was like 17 or 16. Cape Fear was the movie. And of course, that actress went on to play in major roles. They had to pay her off for what she did, right? Obviously. That movie was disgusting. David Icke. Okay, that'll be the last one we do today. Again, I'll put a link to this so you guys can look at this yourself. David Icke. Okay, we got one from 2019. Nope. Oops. Okay, what is this? Current events, current affairs, David Icke, enslavement, ethics, evolution. This is some kind of list. The heck? He's just in some kind of a list here. Doorway to the Cesspit by David Icke. Saturday. Jimmy Savile, Doorway to Cesspit. What David Icke wrote on October 13th in a major exposure of establishment pedophilia. So, here we have something. What is this? This is just some paper, I think. We'll see what this document is about. This is from Gene James to Washington Field Office for the FBI. So this guy just basically wrote this paper up about his theories about some of this stuff and some proof that this person had to the FBI. So that's what this is about, in which David Icke is mentioned in the document. All right, I think that's about all. We could literally be on here all day, guys. So I'm gonna just let you do your research, and put your links in the comment section. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. I love each and every one of you. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.